Usually when we talk about hunger or food insecurity in a community, the mental image is just pretty bleak.
Yeah, it really is.
We picture empty grocery store shelves, or, we imagine a warehouse somewhere where the math just isn't mathing.
Right, where the sheer number of mouths in a city is just simply greater than the number of calories available.
Exactly. We're totally taught to view it as this strict equation of deficit.
Well, we look at it as a pure supply problem, right? The assumption is that the region simply doesn't have enough food inside its own borders.
So it has to be shipped in from somewhere else.
Exactly.
But then you take a walk through a typical neighborhood, let's say right here in Red Deer, or really anywhere in central Alberta in late August or early September.
Oh, yeah. I know where you're going with this.
Right. The reality on the ground just completely shatters that equation of deficit.
It really does.
You are literally stepping over perfectly good apples, just rotting on the sidewalk because, the homeowner's tree produced way too much.
Or you've got neighbors secretly trying to offload, like, 10-pound zucchinis on each other's porches in the dark of night.
Yes, the midnight zucchini drop, because their backyard garden just exploded and they can't possibly eat it all. It's a total paradox.
It is. We are looking at a landscape where food insecurity is living literally right next door to unchecked, unharvested abundance.
Which is wild.
And that contrast, it forces us to ask a fundamentally different kind of question about how a city actually sustains itself.
And that is exactly the mission of our deep dive today. I'm so excited about this one. We've got this fascinating stack of sources in front of us: local urban agriculture proposals, community resilience studies, and operational data from the Red Deer Food Bank.
A really great mix of data.
Yeah. And we're sifting through all of this to explore what is honestly a highly practical, surprisingly hopeful blueprint for localized food security.
And the core theme driving this entire conversation is this idea of feed Red Deer from Red Deer together.
I love that phrase.
It's powerful. We're looking at the very real possibility that food insecurity in our communities, it might not be a supply problem at all.
What if, at its core, it's a connection problem?
Exactly. Changing
Yeah.
the lens from a supply issue to a connection issue is a massive paradigm shift.
It changes everything.
But, before we get into the actual mechanics of how a community rewires that connection, we need to be incredibly clear about what we are and aren't saying here.
Right. This is important.
This exploration is not a critique of the current food systems.
Yeah.
Or the people holding the line. We have to highlight the foundational, vital work being done every single day by the Red Deer Food Bank.
Oh, absolutely. The local volunteers, the grocery partners, the community organizations, those teams are absolute heroes.
They really are.
They are managing incredible logistical feats to get meals to people who need them right now. And they're dealing with, supply chain hiccups, inflation, rising demand all at once.
Yeah, they are the load-bearing pillars of our current safety net. So the goal of the proposals we're diving into today isn't to say that the emergency system is flawed.
Right.
The goal is to look at how a community can build alongside those pillars. We're exploring how to strengthen what's already there by tapping into resources that are currently, totally invisible to the formal food distribution system.
Okay, let's unpack that. Because since we know the existing food bank and their partners are working at maximum capacity, we have to look at what resources are falling through the cracks of our collective awareness.
Exactly.
And the sources we're looking at call this hidden abundance, which is such a fitting phrase because it's literally growing all around us, but we've trained ourselves to not see it as food.
Right, it just blends into the background.
Yeah. It's those unpicked fruit trees in backyards. It's the massive surplus from summer gardens that ends up in the municipal compost bin.
Just because one family can't possibly eat 40 tomatoes in a single week.
Right. Or extra produce from local farmers markets that goes to waste. It's even, the half-used packets of seeds sitting in everyone's garage.
It's essentially a massive decentralized farm that nobody is managing.
A decentralized farm. I like that.
And the solution framework proposed to fix this is the creation of what they call an abundance network.
Okay, an abundance network.
Yeah, this is where the community intentionally connects this hidden, decentralized surplus directly with local needs. Instead of letting that surplus rot, you actually build a system to catch it.
I was reading through this and it really reminded me of an energy grid.
Oh, that's an interesting way to look at it.
Right now, it's like everyone in the neighborhood has a solar panel on their roof generating power, which in this analogy are the apples and the zucchini.
Right, the food surplus.
Yeah. But because those panels aren't tied into a central neighborhood grid, the excess power just grounds out and disappears. It's totally wasted.
That is a perfect way to visualize it. The abundance network is essentially wiring the neighborhood together so that the excess power flows directly to the house whose lights are off.
Exactly. But how does that actually work? What are the mechanics of wiring that grid?
Well, it's surprisingly straightforward once the community commits to it. Practically speaking, an abundance network usually takes the form of a centralized community registry,
Like a website or an app?
often digital, yeah. You log into a local platform, you drop a pin on your address, you say, hey, I have 2 apple trees I can't physically harvest.
Okay, that's easy enough.
Right. Then a dispatched crew of local volunteers people who have actively signed up to be part of the network sees that pin. They show up with ladders and baskets and they do the picking.
Oh, wow. So they just handle the labor right there.
Exactly. The homeowner keeps what they want. The volunteers take a share for their labor, and the bulk of the harvest goes straight to the Red Deer Food Bank or local community pantries.
Okay, but here's what I don't get. Let's unpack this. If the food is literally rotting on the branch down the street, right?
Yeah.
And there are people who need it just a few blocks away, why hasn't a system like this just happened naturally over the last 50 years?
That's the big question.
Like, why isn't it human instinct to just walk over, pick the apples, and hand them to someone who is hungry?
Well, the psychology behind our food systems is honestly the biggest hurdle here.
What do you mean?
We've been conditioned over decades to view food as strictly transactional. We think of it as something that moves in a straight commercial line.
Like from a farm to a store?
Exactly. A large-scale farm grows it, a shipping truck moves it to a grocery store, you pay for it with money, and then it goes to your personal kitchen table.
Right. We view it as a retail product, wrapped in plastic with a barcode.
We simply do not view food as a communal resource anymore. We've shifted into this mindset of isolated households rather than an interconnected ecosystem.
Oh, I see. So the neighbor's tree is just their property.
Exactly. If you see an apple on a tree in someone's yard, your conditioned societal response is, that is private property, it has nothing to do with me.
Even if it's rotting.
Even if it's rotting. So an abundance network requires us to unlearn that strictly transactional behavior. We have to start viewing our neighborhoods as shared ecosystems.
Where a surplus in one yard is a resource for the whole block.
Exactly. If we can map the surplus, we can map the connections.
Okay, so picking the low-hanging fruit literally and catching that accidental garden surplus, that solves the immediate waste problem.
Yes, it's a great first step.
But relying on, like, accidental backyard foraging isn't really a scalable strategy to feed a whole city, is it?
No, not at all.
If we want actual robust security, we have to move from accidental harvesting to intentional growing. And the sources outline some really specific strategies for neighbors cooperating to deliberately create that surplus.
Right. Moving from passive to active sharing. This is where the concept of cultivating the neighborhood really takes root.
Yeah. We're talking about grow-a-row initiatives, crop co-ops, turning front yards into productive gardens, and broader community growing projects.
Let's look at the mechanics of grow-a-row, for example, because the logistics are just brilliant in their simplicity.
Okay, how does it work?
A gardener decides at the very beginning of the season that one specific row of their carrots or beans isn't for their family. It is entirely dedicated to the food bank.
Oh, so it's planned from day one.
Exactly. When harvest time comes, the Abundance Network coordinates local drop-off days at neighborhood hubs, or they send volunteer drivers to collect the produce.
That's amazing.
The distribution centers get an influx of fresh, local, highly nutritious food without having to navigate global supply chains or, wholesale retail prices.
Wait, hold on. I'm looking at these proposals for crop co-ops and converting front lawns into community garden spaces, and I feel like we need a reality check here.
Okay, lay it on me.
We're talking about folks working 40-hour work weeks. Most people I know in Red Deer are coming home exhausted.
Very true.
They barely have the energy to figure out a 30-minute dinner, and now we want them out tilling a co-op in their front yard.
I get how it sounds.
Doesn't this whole idea just shift this massive burden of agricultural production onto the shoulders of already exhausted, stressed out individuals? That honestly sounds like a fast track to burnout, not community resilience.
It's a totally fair pushback. And if you approach a front yard garden as one exhausted person's solitary responsibility, then yes, it is a massive, unsustainable burden.
Right, nobody has time for that.
But the secret engine of these crop co-ops and community projects is the distributed nature of the effort. We aren't asking one tired person to become a solitary farmer.
Okay, then what are we asking?
We're asking a network of people to pool their specific, limited capacities.
Break down how that actually looks on a typical residential street. Let's say my street.
Okay, imagine a block with 5 participating houses. House A owns a heavy-duty rototiller, but the owner works really long hours.
Okay, so they have the gear but no time.
Right. House B has a massive mature compost pile, but no actual space to plant. House C has 3 teenagers with free time on the weekends, but no gardening tools.
Okay, I see where this is going.
And House D has a huge sunny front lawn. A crop co-op coordinates those fragmented resources.
Oh, wow.
The tiller from House A preps the lawn at House D using the compost from House B, and the teenagers from House C do the planting and weeding.
So the labor, the tools, and the land are all completely distributed.
Exactly. You're entirely diluting the physical burden. Nobody's doing everything, but everybody is contributing something.
That is so smart. You're not asking anyone to be a full-time farmer.
And there are deep agricultural benefits to this cooperative model, too. Take soil depletion, for instance.
What happens with that?
Well, if a single homeowner tries to grow tomatoes in the same small backyard patch every single year, the soil just loses its nutrients and the yields plummet.
Right, because tomatoes take a lot out of the soil.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But in a neighborhood crop co-op, you utilize crop rotation across different properties. This year, my yard grows heavy-feeding tomatoes, and your yard grows nitrogen-fixing beans to actually repair the soil.
Oh, and then next year, we just swap.
Right. It is a level of agricultural management that a single homeowner struggles with, but a connected street can execute really easily.
That makes so much sense. It's not just a strategy for maximizing calories. It's a strategy for building actual community health.
Absolutely.
It forces neighbors to talk, to coordinate, to rely on one another. You are harvesting food, but you're also basically harvesting a neighborhood support system.
That's a great way to put it.
Which, is a beautiful picture for the summer months. But let's look at the map for a second. We are talking about central Alberta here.
Yes, we are.
Our growing season is, to put it mildly, aggressively short.
Very short.
We might have this whole dirt under the fingernails, grassroots gardening figured out for a sunny July afternoon. But what happens in February when the ground is frozen solid under 2 feet of snow?
Right. That is the ultimate bottleneck for any northern urban agriculture project.
Yeah, you can't exactly grow a row in a blizzard.
No, you can't. To truly achieve the mission of feed red deer from red deer year-round, you cannot rely entirely on traditional outdoor growing seasons.
So what's the alternative?
You have to innovate, and you have to bring technology into the fold.
And this is where the sources take us from the garden dirt to the absolute cutting edge of urban farming.
It's a pretty wild transition.
It really is. To supplement traditional growing, the proposals point heavily to modern innovations. We're talking food towers, modular container farms, and advanced hydroponic systems.
Because these technologies remove the climate from the equation entirely.
Yeah.
Which is the absolute key to true, localized food resilience in a place with harsh winters.
Okay, but here's where my brain kind of trips up on this.
Okay, what's the hang-up?
We just spent all this time painting a picture of neighbors sharing a rototiller, swapping compost, and planting seeds in the front lawn.
Right.
It's a very organic, grassroots, borrow a cup of sugar kind of vibe. Are we now talking about taking an empty, frozen parking lot near the highway in Red Deer and dropping a glowing, high-tech, automated shipping container right in the middle of it?
We are?
But how does that space-age tech blend with the neighborhood garden? They feel like totally contradictory approaches to food security.
I get why you'd say that. On the surface, the aesthetics are completely opposite. But if you look at the mechanics of building a secure local supply chain, it's actually a perfect necessary synthesis.
Okay, how so?
We aren't just talking abstract concepts here. We're talking about connecting the micro with the macro.
The micro and the macro.
Right. Mrs. Gable's tomato patch on 47th Avenue is the micro. The retrofitted, climate-controlled sea can sitting in an empty lot is the macro.
And you need both.
To create a robust system, you absolutely need both to operate in tandem.
Okay, explain how a container farm actually operates in an Alberta winter. Because honestly, that sounds like a logistical nightmare to keep warm.
It sounds like it would be, but it's an incredibly efficient closed-loop system.
Closed.
Yeah. These container farms are heavily insulated, essentially turning a standard shipping container into a giant thermos.
Oh, interesting.
And inside, you don't use soil. You use hydroponics. So water enriched with nutrients constantly recirculating over the exposed roots of the plants.
No soil at all, just water.
Exactly. And instead of the sun, you have arrays of high-efficiency LED lights tuned to the exact spectrum the plants need to photosynthesize.
Okay, but what about the cold? It gets to -30 here.
Here's the brilliant part about the winter.
Mm.
The LED lights generate just enough ambient heat that, combined with that heavy insulation, the internal environment stays perfectly balmy.
Wait, really? Even at -30 outside?
Even at -30,
Mm.
the system monitors the humidity, the pH levels of the water, and the light cycles totally automatically.
So while the front yards are buried in snow, this insulative thermos in a parking lot is just churning out food.
Nonstop.
What kind of volume are we actually talking about here?
Yeah.
Because it's just a shipping container.
You'd be surprised. A single 40-foot container farm can produce the equivalent yield of a 2 to 3 acre traditional farm.
You are kidding me?
No. We are talking about pumping out 500 to 1,000 heads of fresh, leafy greens or herbs every single week, predictably 365 days a year.
That is staggering. I mean, it completely changes the definition of local food.
It really does. And that is why it doesn't contradict the neighborhood garden. It anchors it.
Okay, I think I see what you mean.
The Grow a Row initiative is highly social, it builds immense community trust, and it provides a massive influx of heavy, calorie-dense foods like potatoes, carrots, and squash in the late summer and fall.
Right, the stuff that stores well.
Exactly. But it's deeply vulnerable to the weather. The container farm is the winter anchor for the Abundance Network.
It guarantees that even in the dead of February, the food bank still gets fresh food.
Yes, the Red Deer Food Bank and the local community still have a localized, reliable source of fresh, nutrient-dense produce to share and distribute.
It's essentially weatherproofing the Abundance Network. You combine the hyper-efficiency of the hydroponic tech with the grassroots community engagement of the shared garden. You use the technology not to replace the human connection, but to ensure the community has resources to share all year long.
That is how you fundamentally shift the reality of a city's food insecurity.
By doing both.
Yeah, you build a dynamic system that is resilient against both social isolation in the summer and harsh climates in the winter. It's a framework built entirely on addition, not subtraction.
That makes so much sense. You look at what the city already has, the unpicked fruit, the willing neighbors, the technological tools, rather than just agonizing over the global supply chain logistics you don't control.
Exactly.
This has been such a massive shift in perspective for me to just kind of distill this entire deep dive down for you listening. Food insecurity isn't purely a lack of food in the world.
No, it's not.
The cold math of calories versus mouths doesn't tell the whole story. The missing variable in that equation is connection.
It's a gap in how we relate to our environment and to the people living right next door.
Right. By mapping the hidden abundance that already exists on our streets, by embracing shared growing models to distribute the grueling labor, and by utilizing innovations like container farms to beat the freeze.
Communities can build an incredible localized safety net.
Exactly, to support the existing heroes at our food bank.
It's totally possible.
So, we want to ask you to do something today. Whether you're driving your commute right now or sitting in your kitchen looking out the window, take a hard look at your community.
Really look around.
Where is the hidden abundance hiding in plain sight in your neighborhood? Are there unpicked fruit trees you walk past every single day?
Is there a neighbor with an incredible green thumb who always has way too many tomatoes while you're sitting on a garage full of unused gardening tools and a sunny front lawn?
The resources are already there. The puzzle pieces, or, the solar panels, if we go back to our energy grid analogy, they're just waiting to be connected.
The physical proximity is already established. It's just the psychological distance that needs to be closed.
Which leaves us with one final lingering thought for you to chew on as we wrap up today. We carry these incredible supercomputing devices in our pockets.
You do.
We use them constantly to navigate around a 5-minute traffic jam. We use them to instantly find the nearest coffee shop. We use technology to map convenience every single day.
But the soil potential of our own street, or the surplus of food growing one block over, is a complete blind spot.
The technology to fix this isn't the hurdle. Our mindset is. If we have the tools to crowdsource traffic data so we aren't late for work, what would become possible if we built a way to digitally map our streets for surplus seeds and shared harvests?
That's a great question.
If we can crowdsource convenience, we can certainly crowdsource survival. Imagine walking down your street in late August, and instead of stepping over rotting apples, your phone sends you a notification. Your neighbor's tree is full, the network is active, and it's time to connect.